Coaching and mentoring is one of those things which, for some people, will bring up fear and worry and concern. But my experience of coaching and mentoring throughout my whole life has been pretty much 100% positive. Yeah, there's been a few kind of ups and downs, but on the whole, it has helped me to grow and develop. And if I really think back to when my coaching and mentoring journey started, it's going to be going back to when I was a kid and those kind of informal relationships that you have with relatives and friends and parents, where they've helped you to develop and just step and move along that line and progress. And even now, I have coaches in my life, and it makes a massive, massive difference to who I am and what I do. Now, I had the immense pleasure of sitting down having a conversation with one of my clients, a podiatrist called Jackson Tisdell, who's based out in Australia. And Jackson posted on LinkedIn about how, really talking about mentoring and the benefits of mentoring. And I said, you know what, we should get together and have a conversation about this. And that's exactly what we did earlier today. We sat down, we had a conversation about the benefits of mentoring. And we explored a number of things. I was keen to explore the benefits of mentoring. I was keen to explore the development of Jackson during our time together and how he's progressed and what he's bringing to the world, because it is truly amazing what he's bringing to the world. And also looking at the value involved in coaching and how you might go out there and find a coach or a mentor for yourself and what the benefits of doing that would be. There's some really good lessons in there as well for employers and employees as to how that coaching and mentoring relationship can work within an organisation too. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And if you've got any questions about coaching and mentoring, you can reach out to either myself or Jackson, and we would love to have a conversation with you. But for now, grab yourself a cup of tea or beverage of choice, sit back and enjoy our conversation. Okay, I'll tell you what, let's start talking about mentorship, because you put that amazing post out on LinkedIn about mentorship. And I love that. I mean, I'm a huge fan of mentorship. I think mentorship is probably one of the most important things that any of us can do. An undergraduate degree, brilliant. You know, let's not knock the power of an undergraduate degree and a master's degree and a PhD and all of those kind of things. But having a key person who you can talk to and who can guide you and who can stand, we're all here, but who can stand here and look back and go, I remember what that was like, let me help you a little bit. I think it's amazing. So when I saw your post, it really resonated with me.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love the topic of mentorship, and I think the best thing that a mentor can do for you is to give you like a bit of clarity and direction with what you're doing. So they don't necessarily give you all of the answers, and they don't tell you, like, they're not just giving you information. They're helping you to figure out what you need to do for yourself, if that makes sense. I think that's where mentors are really helpful, is they help to sort of help you put all of your thought processes and headspace and information into the right areas and where to direct your time and energy and that sort of thing. So that's what I found really helpful from mentors I've had in podiatry, and then now working with you as well. Similar sort of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of touch on the kind of helping people to find the answers themselves. And I know we talked ages ago about, and you asked me a question, what's the difference in coaching and mentoring? And I think sometimes it's a bit of a blur. They kind of amalgamate together, and the relationships that I have with people like you and other people I work with can be very much a bit of both. And it's almost, what is it you need today? And well, today I need you to tell me to do a certain number of things so I can move forward. Cool, okay, well that's probably more mentoring. But if it's actually sitting and giving people space and asking questions and not necessarily knowing the answers, and giving things the time to blossom and bloom. Because really, when it comes to coaching, I believe everyone has the answer anyway. They just need the space in order to do it. And you're too young. You won't remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off, will you?
I think I have seen it, but yeah, rings a. I know the movie, but no.
This is the point where you turn around to me and say, yeah, my granddad told me about it, and I feel really old because I remember it when it was out. Ferris Bueller has an amazing line in it, which is something like, life moves pretty fast. Sometimes you just got to stop and look, turn around and look around. And I think because everything's so busy, we've got notifications popping up everywhere. We've got, people vying for our attention, and when we're not necessarily steering our own coat, bar ship, coat, car, boat, ship, whatever you want to call it. we're often reacting to what's going on around us. So I think with coaching, the great thing is it gives you a space to actually say, right, shut the rest of the world out. This is what's going to be important for the moment. Let's give it some space. So, yeah, I mean, for me, my experience of coaching and mentoring has been, there's been times where I haven't noticed that I've had mentors. I just haven't seen them there until I've kind of looked back and gone, oh, that's what was happening. And I can think back to my days as a nurse. I can think back to my days as an undergraduate podiatrist. I can think to now the mentors I have now. But it has been one of the most valuable things that I've ever had, for sure. And the other thing, this is the other flip side, is the people who I work with, I learn just as much from them as hopefully they learn from me. So I learn from you all the time. I see you doing stuff and it's like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. And definitely the best thing that I've got out of sort of working with you is like, right, if we think right back to the start, the reason why I reached out to you was because I was doing all this stuff on social media and sort of putting myself out there, sort of trying to make some inroads. And but I didn't really, I was just doing it and I was enjoying doing it, but I didn't really have any direction with it or any clarity as to what it was I was trying to achieve. And I still don't know that. You helped me to reframe that in a way, like you gave me that North Star analogy of where I want to be. You don't have to necessarily know exactly what it is or what this goal is, but as long as you feel like you're working towards it. So you helped to, with your mentor, and you helped to sort of shape what I was doing and give me a bit more clarity on the direction that I was going with it, and help to block out all the distractions and what's not important and what is important, and sort of making everything a bit simpler as well. That they're the best things that I think, looking back over the last 6 months to now, like I've definitely got a lot more direction and purpose and clarity and structure and all those things to do with what I'm doing.
And I love that because, sitting on the sidelines, kind of watching what you do, you pop up all over social media and I'm like, oh my God. And I've watched your kind of growth and development over that time. Now, I know we talked about this at the very beginning. You would do that anyway. It may well have taken you longer. You may well have gone in a direction completely opposite to your North Star and then had to kind of really go back and find yourself back on the right path. But it's been amazing to watch. I've absolutely loved watching it. The North Star thing I found really interesting because I'm sure that, at my advanced age, I still am not 100% certain, what I exactly want to do precisely, which is why I have coaches and mentors, because they pick up on things which I don't see. They pick up on my blind spots. But that North Star kind of metaphor for me is, if I know the general direction that I'm heading, then as long as I'm going in that direction, broadly speaking, I should be okay. And there'll be some value in all of the other things we do around the side. So yeah, that North Star, I love that North Star one. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I do enjoy that one. Definitely. And
that sort of that book you recommended to me as well, the Essentialism. I forget the author's name.
Is it Greg McEwen?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That was an awesome book as well, and that's the sort of stuff that you've helped me with as well, with the with my social media stuff. And what I'm doing is trying to cut out what's not important and focus on what actually gets results, and picking up on patterns of what sort of posts get the most engagement and what comes of that, and then just focusing in on that, rather than getting sidetracked with all these awesome and crazy ideas I've got, focusing on the ones that actually matter and cutting out all the crap. That's been really helpful.
And it's the power of being able to kind of shut things out and focus, and also that power of not feeling guilty about shutting other things out. I went on a webinar this morning while I was consuming my porridge, which is kind of a common thing at the moment. And it was a webinar talking about what are the 20 things going on in social media for social media marketing. And it was an absolutely brilliant. It's from a girl, Kirsty, who's not too far from here in Birmingham. And these 20 things, I looked at it and went, oh my God, that's so overwhelming, there's 20 things. And then went, okay, what do I need to get from this? I only need to get one thing from it. And it's having that courage to turn around and go, if I get one thing from this, it's fine. I don't need other stuff. And this is the same with anything you do. I mean, your output on social media is just absolutely immense. You know, I flick onto Instagram and he's there. Look, there's some muscles there. That's brilliant. And then there's a parrot. And it's like hello. And then I go onto LinkedIn and you're there. And so, but it's done in a way which is very strategic. One of the things actually, which would be an interesting question, when we first started working together, you weren't doing a lot of video, and well, I don't know what your thought process was around that, because we talked about video very kind of early on, and you kind of just grabbed it with both hands and ran with it. Was there anything particularly with video which maybe was, a little bit of a fear or a worry or concern at the beginning?
I think not so. It's going to sound funny. When it comes to putting out video content, there's always that sort of that imposter syndrome, and that's an obvious one that everyone knows about, the imposter syndrome, but more so not for people that I don't know. So for the general sort of podiatry network and all the people on LinkedIn, don't mind putting my stuff out to people that I don't know, but the people that I do know, I was sort of like worried about what they would think. So you think about your friends, your close friends, your family, like all these people you got on social media, like you're wondering whether they're going to be like, oh, what the hell, like this, like this isn't Jackson, like this. He doesn't put himself out there like that. So this is like the first time I've really put myself out there on social media, because I'm actually an introvert. Like I don't, I've never been a real extroverty person. So doing my social media stuff is a bit of a change for me. It's a bit of an outlet, and it's a bit different. So I was sort of worried about what the people that actually know me would think rather than any other person. And I think you sort of helped me with that, mate, and mainly just starting and the more I did it, just getting it out there. I posted a few videos, and then you realize that it's not that scary. No one came and there was no one running with pitchforks and torches, trying to hunt you down, like, and then you just keep going, and you get more confident and you get better at it. So yeah, does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I remember my journey doing sort of video and social media, and I think I posted something recently which was from 4 years ago, and it was pertinent. It was a video I did as a live onto my Facebook business page when I had my clinic, and I just finished it was October 2016. I just finished a holistic health fair which I was doing kind of every 6 months. It was a great fair. I hadn't worked out how to reverse the camera on Facebook Live, so all of the writing was the wrong way around. It was 2 minutes of stuff which wouldn't help anyone at all. And it was the day before I had my first associate start, and the day before I started teaching undergraduates. So it was a really kind of big day, and I looked at this video. It popped up on my feed. I looked at this video and went, "Who is that?" And you go back, and you'll do this in a couple of years' time. You will go back and start looking at your videos and go, "Who's that?" Because you will evolve and change and develop. But I remember putting stuff out there and being absolutely petrified that somebody was going to pick holes in it and pick faults in it. And you realise, I think, quite quickly that people aren't paying that much attention. So there's a thing, I think I might have talked about it before, called the spotlight effect, where I think the spotlight effect basically says that people are paying half as much attention to you than you think they are, which means you can be twice as annoying, and people will probably only then just notice you. And I think about that a lot, because I think you want to be out there talking about things, and usually the people who come in with pitchforks are the ones who aren't doing what you're doing and are getting that feeling that they know that they should be doing it, that they're feeling that there's something lacking in their kind of motivation, existence, life, whatever it is, and they're not doing what you're doing. They're seeing how good it is, and then they just attack you because it's the easiest thing to do. But it makes perfect sense, that imposter syndrome, and I'm sure you get it now. I'm sure there's times where you go to do a video and you're like, why is this taking me 20 takes? And, I get it as well. I did a video of I think it was for AHP Day, which is tomorrow. I did a video and I had to do 4 takes on it because I just couldn't get it right. And it was really frustrating. But that's part of the whole process. And there's something magical about video anyway. I love video.
Yeah, definitely. No, videos, I agree with you. It's the most sort of powerful way to put yourself out there as far as that personal connection with people and getting that engagement. So yeah, I think videos definitely helped me to grow my sort of presence, if you want, for want of a better term, on social media. So definitely see the benefits there. But it was definitely the mentorship that helped me to sort of, there's a bit of a mindset sort of thing about putting myself out there, that imposter syndrome, and having that mentor to get me past that was really, really helpful. So do you think, do you necessarily need mentorship? Like, I'm thinking, like, from a new graduate podiatrist perspective, obviously it's very helpful, and I know I recommend it, and I had really great mentorship myself. But you hear all the time of people that do just go out on their own, and they grow their own, they build their own experience just by trial and error and from doing things. And so, like, do you actually need mentorship? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a really good question. I know when we first talked about working together, and I have this conversation with everyone who I'm making a proposal to work with, and it's around kind of the sacred nature of coaching and mentoring. And one of the things I say to people is there's two routes. One route is that you go out on your own, you do it yourself. It might take you longer, but you will get there in the end. That's the way of all things. The other way is that you work with a coach or mentor. The difference being is that you'll probably get there a little bit quicker. You've got somebody on your side looking for your blind spots, but it's an investment in a different time investment, and it's a financial investment. But in answer to the question, no, you don't need to have a formal mentor. You can do it all on your own, and quite often there are some things which I think are best done by trial and error. Absolutely. I mean, what those things are is very personal and very individual. But I think there's a flip side to kind of doing it on your own, and that flip side is almost over-reliance on other people, where you look for a mentor, and then you look for another mentor, and then you look for another mentor, and you invest heavily in people to help you, but you don't actually take the time to act and do things. So I think there's definitely a flip side. But to answer the question, no, you don't need a mentor. I'd highly recommend that you have somebody who you can trust and who you can talk to and who you can bounce ideas off, and someone who, it's nice to have your partner do it, your wife, your husband, your really good friend, but they're going to try and be nice to you. I'm sure you find it with Danny that if you ask Danny for advice on something, she'll either be overly harsh, or she'll come around and actually she won't want to upset you, and that's got its place. But it's having somebody who objectively can look at what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, we highly recommend one, but you don't necessarily need one.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so, like, when it comes to actually getting a mentor, what are some things that people can? So if I think of answering that question, like, how do you get a mentor? There's a couple of really obvious things to me. So you obviously need to look for one, and then you need to ask them. You just need to ask them for mentorship, because you don't ask, you don't get, essentially. And also providing them with a lot of value in return. So if we're not talking about financial value as far as like a online situation. Like if we're talking about a new graduate in a clinic, looking for as their like head podiatrist boss to be their mentor, like, how do they obtain that mentorship? And I think the answer is to provide them with just as much value as they can give to you, so that it's almost like a value exchange. And because if you're trying to get that person's time and their energy, which are their two most important and valuable things in their life, particularly from a business owner's perspective, who they may be seeing clients as well themselves. They've got a lot going on and running the business. So in order for them to give you mentorship, it needs to be a value exchange. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. Fair exchange of value is a term I throw around quite a lot. Because when you talk about a fair exchange of value, there's no set metric on it. And I think about the people who, when I was in clinical practice, first of all, and I had people who mentored me. I can think about my favourite ever mentor. My favourite ever mentor was a girl called Jackie, who was a nurse back in my first ever nursing job in 2000. And she was great because she took the time to actually, I trained very much at the time. We did a thing called Project 2000. The Project 2000 is a very kind of analytical, research-based diploma for nursing. you get the hands-on stuff, but not quite in the same way. And Jackie was the one who kind of mentored me through the hands-on stuff, and she helped to bridge the gap. And I think about her as providing me with an immense amount of value. And I'd like to think that me growing and developing and being able to then pass that on to students was part of that kind of payment, that fair exchange of value. But you're absolutely right, though. You've got to ask, if you want somebody to support you and you see somebody out there who resonates with you and you think, I really like them, I like their philosophy, I'd like to be doing what they're doing, or maybe be like them, but with my own spin on it, go and ask, go and have that conversation. And quite often, having somebody approach you and say, I'd like to work with you, I'd like you to mentor me, is massively flattering. It's a real kind of ego boost that you're doing something. And you've had this yourself, where people have come to you and gone, Jackson, can you mentor me? And it's like, wow, people actually value what you do and what you provide. That for some people can be enough value. So I think it's having that conversation first of all. As having owned my own business in podiatry, I had associates mostly, and when I sold the clinic, I actually sold it to someone who was one of my associates. But I think as a business owner, you've got to think strategically and long term about, if I bring somebody into my business and I mentor them and I help them to grow and develop, I could well have somebody who in 10, 15 years time wants to buy the business from me. So it's a longer long-term view. And it reminds me of, I think it's Richard Branson said this. Somebody with Virgin, somebody said to him, well, you keep training all these people in all this really cool stuff. What happens if they go? And Richard Branson turned around and said, yeah, but what happens if they stay and I don't train them? And I think that's a really good mantra. If you don't invest in your staff, they might stay and they might become toxic to your organisation. But if you do invest in them, there's a chance that they might outgrow you and off they go somewhere else. So yeah, it's asking the question. It's having that dialogue and having that conversation. And that's one of the beautiful things, is that if you are approaching someone and saying, I would like you to mentor me, you're already doing the hard work. You're already looking in the mirror and going, I know I need some assistance with this. That's a beautiful thing to see. It's far worse when I see people who believe they know everything and just go off and go, I can do this without any kind of assistance at all. And it's like, maybe you can, but if you haven't got that kind of that inward looking thing where you actually look at yourself first, that can be a bit of a problem. That's quite a long answer. Sorry about that. I just kind of went off on one there.
No, you're right. When it comes to delivering mentorship as well. So I was going to ask you about that. I feel as though so when I've been doing my mentoring sessions with some new graduates, I like to ask them what they're looking for and what their expectations are, and what they would like to achieve perhaps out of the mentorship that I'm providing them. So and I think it's similar to if we have a patient in the clinic and they come in to see you with a condition they need help with, and you're asking them these sorts of questions. What do you feel like you need right now for this injury, and how long do you think this is going to take, and what do you expect? How can I help you? Is there anything in particular that you think that I can give you? What are you expecting out of this appointment, and that sort of thing? I think the same questions apply when you're engaging in a mentorship sort of program with someone. I think I can't remember back, but I think you sort of asked me what I was hoping to get out of seeking mentorship from you. So like, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you sort of get stuck into the mentorship process and either structure it or just know that you're on the same page and all that?
That's a brilliant question. There's a couple of questions which I love. One is, if we're looking at a session, it's you've got X amount of time with me, so you kind of set the boundaries of the time. What would be a really good outcome for you at the end of this conversation? And that gets people thinking about, right, what do I want in an hour, 2 hours time? What do I want at the end of it? And that's a great one for patients as well. I did it at the National Running Show earlier this year. We'd have like 15, 20-minute consultations, and I'd say, you've got 15 minutes. What's be a good outcome for you? Because we often go, it's very easy to project what we think someone needs onto them, and we could be off the mark completely. Quite often, I think we hit the bullseye and we know exactly what people need, but we need people to tell us what they need, because then that creates buy-in. So that question of what would be a good outcome for the next next hour, next 60 minutes, next 120 minutes is a great one. One of my favourite questions, which I've been using quite a lot recently, is one which I've picked up off, firstly off one of my coaches, Dr. Chris Joseph, but secondly off a guy called Rich Litvin, who wrote an amazing book called The Prosperous Coach. And he has one where he sits there with somebody and he says, imagine we're sat having a cup of coffee in 3 years' time, or 5 years' time, or 2 years' time. And you say to me, holy shit, Dave, the last 2-3 years have been absolutely amazing, and this is what's happened, and this is where I am now. Because it takes you from where you are at the minute, and it puts you in a kind of this space of being in the future and looking back at what you've achieved. And it helps with vision, and it also helps you to kind of see that there's massive possibility. And it's those questions which are really, really powerful. And it's taking people out of, a lot of the time, out of their reality, out of where they are at the moment, and putting them into this positive possible future where they can see amazing growth. And that's an amazing thing to do. So those two questions work really well for me. The holy shit Dave question, and the what would you like to achieve in the next 60 minutes question, or what would be a good outcome for you in the next 60 minutes. Those are really, really good. I think in terms of kind of measuring these things, it very much depends on the individual. You like structure. I mean, I've seen your spreadsheet on content, and I've seen your spreadsheet on how much you enjoy creating different bits of content, which we did at the beginning. And that enjoyment piece I think for me was a really big question, was what do you enjoy creating? Because if you don't enjoy it and it doesn't get you engagement, why do it? So yeah. I know you like structure. Other people I work with don't. They almost like to just sit down with a blank slate and see what happens in the next hour or 2 hours. So it's understanding what helps people to take action. If we sat down and just kind of, nothing was prepared, and you didn't come to it with something that you wanted to achieve, it wouldn't be as beneficial to you, and it wouldn't be as fun for me. It wouldn't be as fun for you. So it's knowing the person you work with as well, and it's understanding how you work best.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is that I think when you are providing mentorship, so like for example, when I was say I was in like final year of uni, and we had like some first years come into the clinic with us, and we were like sort of like shadowing, and I remember having a student with me, and I was only a student myself, but giving them that extra 2 years of knowledge that I had, and helping them with some questions and that sort of thing. I got a bit of a kick out of that, so I really enjoyed that, and I think it really makes you understand more what you're doing. So regurgitating information and teaching somebody else what you've learnt and what you're doing, it really and in simple terms as well, it really ingrains it in your mind. So like if you know it but you can't teach it, then like it's like do you really know it? So I think there's a lot of value in being a mentor yourself, no matter at what stage of your career you're in. If you can be a mentor to somebody else, and teach things, then it helps you to understand it better as well. And then if someone asks you, can you help me with this topic, and you think you know a bit about it, but then you go to help them with it and you can't really help them, then you might need to refresh on it yourself, I think. And there's the saying that like if you can't explain things in simple terms, if you can't teach someone something simply, then you don't really know your stuff. No matter how much of an expert you are, you need to be able to explain things very simply.
Yeah, no, 100%. And actually, as a clinician, I found this as much from my podiatry as my nursing. When I worked in A&E, we used to have to take complex stuff going on and explain it to people who had no knowledge of it in very highly kind of emotive situations. And I just popped into my mind was the time we ended up resuscitating a 40-year-old guy who had a heart attack with his wife in the room, and he died. He didn't survive, which was really sad. I'm 7 years past that now, and then I was 30. God, I must have been sort of 31, I think, at that point, 30, 31. So it was, but being in that situation where then you have to kind of sit down with the wife who was in the room and kind of explain everything you've done, and it's being able to take those kind of complexities in a highly emotive environment and kind of help people to understand things. But the kick out of mentoring is a real thing. It's a buzz. It's a massive buzz. And you talking about being an undergrad helping other undergrads. My mom, when she trained to be a nurse back in the late 60s, there was a hierarchy within the student kind of nurse situation where first year student nurse could only talk to second year, second to third year might be able to talk to newly qualified and graduated, and junior kind of nurse, and then more senior nurse. And if a first year student nurse went and spoke to the matron, it was just completely out of turn. So you had to have that kind of mentoring relationship going on. It sounds like an awful time to train to be a nurse, but my mum survived anyway, and she seems quite happy and fairly sane. But mentorship is, yeah, it's a buzz, and I jumped. Which is probably why I enjoy it so much now. I remember jumping at the opportunity as a newly qualified staff nurse. I remember working in A&E with students, and I've still got copies of cards where students have thanked me for what I've done for them. I think about my undergraduate, my podiatry career. When I was working for the NHS as a team leader, I used to work with students. We'd have 2 students in, and they'd be running the clinic, and I'd be kind of sat in the background. But I used to get such a buzz from helping them kind of put the dots together, and join up the dots, and that was amazing. So yeah, that buzz is a real thing, definitely. Yeah, it's a great thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I certainly enjoy it, and yeah, can definitely see myself doing some teaching stuff and more and more online mentorship and courses and that sort of thing. That's where I want to head to, I think. But yeah, and you've certainly helped me a lot with that. So thank you for your for your time and your energy.
Well, no, and thank you for being bloody awesome at getting stuff done and just getting on with it. That's made a huge difference. I think one of the things which I'd be really interested to touch upon, because we go back to that first time when we had that first conversation earlier in the year, and we were just building up on what's going on in the world at the moment, the COVID stuff, and you were kind of thinking, well, what is it I want to do? What's my North Star? And we kind of worked on some of that, and there's still always a way to go on that. But could you have seen 6 months ago, when we first started, that you would be in the position you are now, with the possibility, with the things you're doing, and you've got a coaching client as well at the same time? So someone actually is paying you for coaching, which is a brilliant thing. 6 months ago, could you have seen that?
No, I don't think so. Definitely when we first started, all I was doing was just putting myself out there and sort of growing, I always understood the importance of, building a personal brand and all that sort of stuff, putting out content, creating engagement. I'm a big fan of, the guys like Gary Vaynerchuk and that sort of thing. So I've been following him for a while, so I know all of his stuff, and I'm a big fan of all that, building that personal brand stuff. But as far as, having that, sort of reaping the rewards of that, I guess, like of having people, contact you and ask you questions and contact me for coaching or mentoring services. That's definitely not something that I thought I would be able to do six months ago. So and it's just the start. So I'm looking forward to some more, a lot more mentorship stuff and keeping on growing, I guess. But to answer your question, no, I didn't think it was possible 6 months ago. I was just putting out content, just kept on putting out content. But now there's actually a purpose with what I'm doing.
And I think that probably leads on to a second question is, knowing now what you've been able to achieve in the last 6 months, what's possible for you in the next 6 months and the next 12 months and onwards? And that's maybe one which can't be answered now, but it's one which makes your brain go, I wonder.
Yeah, definitely. No, there's a couple of things in the pipeline as far as webinars and courses and things like that. So more presenting, more teaching, more mentoring, getting more mentoring clients, and developing that side of things. Because I've always I don't think I want to be a clinician full time forever. So sort of the ideal thing for me would be to be a podiatrist, say three days a week, and then have 2 days a week to actually really hone in and do all this sort of stuff. And and also generating multiple income streams as well. That's something to consider, and I think that's something I'm really interested in, and that sort of passive income, for want of a better word, that developing things based on the content you're putting out, and that's sort of a goal as well, to be able to be able to work 3 days a week and earn a decent living still doing that.
And the impact that it has on you, the impact that it has on Danny, on the parrot, on all the things which you can do. The parrot's important. The parrot's very important, but
Absolutely.
but what's actually probably interesting, and this may have kind of popped into your head, or it may be something which is starting to kind of plant the seeds, and it's something I went through as well. Is I'm sat in my clinic in 2018. Not frustrated, well, maybe frustrated, but not enjoying it as much as I should do, but loving the interaction with patients and knowing that that person sat on the couch in front of me, I can transform what their life at that point. But the question for me is how can I magnify that? How can I transform the lives of even more people? And
Absolutely.
the great thing about coaching and mentoring is that if I talk to 20 podiatrists and I can help them to help their clients, that impact is magnified beyond belief. And it's the same with what you're doing at the moment. The number of undergraduates who are across the globe, and it is across the globe, who are looking at what you do and the way you're behaving, the way you're showing up, and going, even if they go, I'm just going to raise my level by 1% to be more like Jackson, that changes the whole industry. That changes the whole kind of global look of podiatry, foot health, physiotherapy, anything which people come into contact with when it regards you. And that impact is big. And it's like, well, how can I increase that by 1%? How can I turn that up to 11, to use a Spinal Tap quote? And once you start to see that possibility, it's like, whoa, it's just...
Yeah, no, and because I really enjoy what I do as well as a podiatrist, as a clinician, I really, really enjoy it. So, and I think that the biggest thing that helped me to enjoy what I do and genuinely enjoy what I do. So a lot of people say they enjoy what they do, but they don't really. But I genuinely enjoy what I do. So, and what's helped me with that is the mentorship that I got from Talisha, who was my first mentor as a new grad, Talisha Reeve, and so that I sort of want to pay that forward as well. And because I've seen other people, some of my classmates, for example, become sort of disenchanted with podiatry already. Within 3 years of graduating, they're sort of dropping out of the profession, or they've had multiple jobs. They've changed around. They haven't been able to find their groove. So yeah, I want to help new grads as well to be able to do that. And by genuinely enjoying what you do, it rubs off on your clients and your patients as well. So if I can help new graduates to enjoy what they do and sort of kickstart their career in the direction they want to go, then that will flow on effect to their patients, like you said. So if I help 20 new graduates and they see 20 patients a day, then I'm helping 400 patients a day. So it's just that at scale sort of thing that you spoke about before. I agree with that.
Yeah, that scale inspiration. And the energy which you have for your profession, I suppose the energy I have for what I do as well, if it's true energy which is born from passion, and I do struggle sometimes with the idea of passionate, because passion is basically suffering, but that kind of dedication towards something and enjoyment, that energy it's a kind of like a true energy. It's a real energy, and a real energy like that is sustainable. Yeah, you get your ups and downs of energy like you do with anything else. But if you're trying to create that energy and it's coming from a place of kind of incongruence or inauthenticity, or it's not genuine, it's much harder to take for a longer period of time. It's much, much harder to sustain. And I think I've certainly seen this with, during COVID. I've seen people who've kind of come out the gates ready to do something, but they haven't had the true energy to kind of sustain it. And it's sad, because there's some amazing people out there. So if you've got that energy and you have got that kind of that congruence, and that you're really, really genuine about what you do and what you stand for, it makes a massive, massive difference. Massive difference.
Yeah, and I've always been a believer in investing in your career. So like if you sort of like spending money to make money, sort of that analogy. So investing in not just mentorship, but CPD events and other online CPD courses. that sort of thing really helps to put you on the front foot and propel yourself forward in your career. You've got to invest in your career. You can't just sit there and not grow. And you do make money by spending money, in my opinion, if it's spent in the right areas.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you have to spend in the wrong areas to realise it's the wrong area. But yeah, speculate to accumulate. Okay, so if people want to find out where you are on your amazing social media, where's the kind of best place to find you? I'm expecting this to be a massive list now of all the places in which you appear.
No, the best ways to find me is on LinkedIn. Send me a message there, or send me an email, or you can add me on Facebook and send me a message there. LinkedIn's probably the biggest platform I do most of my stuff on, but I do have a Facebook group, and also just hit me up with an email. It's Jackson Tisdell@gmail.com.
I have to think about that then.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me? Well, if you want to find me, Instagram and Twitter, I am Dave James. I've just recently changed it because I thought that would be quite a good one. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm not sure what my profile picture is, but it's probably not good. On Facebook at the moment, I think I'm rocking a profile picture with a wig, but that's just for entertainment purposes, but you can come and find me on there. I do have a profile, a business profile on Facebook, which is Positive Pod, and you can find me online as well at www.iamdavejames.co.uk. So you can come and find me there. I think it's safe to say that coaching and mentoring is amazing, and you all should have it. But if you want to kind of connect with any of us and just come and have a conversation about anything like this, if you're a new grad or an undergrad and you want to talk about kind of mentoring and coaching around clinical stuff, Jackson's your man. If you want to have a talk to me about kind of personal brand, coaching, mentoring, healthcare businesses, social media, come and have a conversation with me. Always happy to have that conversation.
Definitely, yeah. I always open for people to reach out to me, and I've made a lot of people all over the world on LinkedIn. Like I've got people I talk to in the UK, such as yourself, and I was on another call last night with someone from the States and Spain and New Zealand. I've got contacts everywhere now because of putting myself out there and people reaching out to me and me reaching out to them on LinkedIn and social media. So it's really powerful, that whole networking stuff. Really, just encourage it, and send me a message and I will reply to you.
Awesome, you're a superstar. Appreciate that. Thank you, mate.
No worries. Yeah, it was good.